The Nissan Primera was always a popular choice of family car in Ireland during its lifetime, especially during its latest and sadly last generation, which spanned from 2002 to 2008. Today I'm at Right Price Cars on the Kylemore Road to show you why it was that it went down so well and why you can still make a good choice of second-hand car. Now, the styling was actually quite radical for its time, although you wouldn't bat an eyelid nowadays when you look at the type of cars that Nissan are producing lately, like the Juke, but it did mark quite a dramatic departure in styling from the slightly anonymous looks of the previous model. And it was a car ahead of its time in more ways than exterior design too. The Primera was one of the first so-called standard cars to feature things like reversing cameras and radar-assisted driving, things that would previously only have been available on the most high-end Mercedes or premium saloons, and even by today's standards would still be classed as some pretty high-tech features. The rest of the cockpit is quite out there too. You'll find the speedo and instrument cluster in the centre of the dash rather than behind the steering wheel, and the centre console is laid out a bit like a joypad. It all feels very futuristic in here, and you definitely wouldn't think that you were sitting in a car that first came out in 2002. Quirky stuff aside, it is quite practical, and head and leg room are very generous in the front and in the back, and a wide rear bench and small transmission tunnel makes it quite possible to carry 3 back there in comfort. Storage in the front is equally impressive, with a large glove box and the alternative layout of the centre console allowing for some extra storage underneath. But it's definitely the level of equipment that really makes the Primera stand out from the crowd, with things like climate control, heated electric mirrors and a 6-speaker CD stereo as standard on all models. And you only have to go for the mid-range model to get this very impressive reversing camera system, which can also be used as a sat-nav on some of the higher spec models. So here's a quick demo of the reversing camera feature. It's a pretty clear screen. They were originally black and white, but they changed to full colour in 2004. Definitely a feature I could get used to, and should also ensure that the bodywork remains in good condition. It got 4 out of 5 stars on the NCAP safety test, with front, side and passenger airbags as standard, as well as ABS and ISOFIX fittings for child seats. The most popular engine choices on the used market are the 1.6 and the 1.8 petrols. This is the latter, although both do around about 38-39 mpg on average. And while this one is a bit quicker, the 1.6 will be cheaper to tax, as it'll still be based on engine size. There were also a couple of 2.2 litre diesels available, although they will be harder to find on the used market, and the earlier models were known for being a little bit noisy. It offers quite a comfortable ride and can actually be quite enjoyable to drive, with light accurate steering and enough power for most driving situations. The driving position is also good, and there's a lot to be said for these very comfortable leather seats in this top of the line T-spec model if you are going to push the boat out. But definitely a car I wouldn't mind taking a long journey in. Also, being a Nissan, it will probably go forever once you look after it right. If there was anything to look out for, it would probably be high mileage, as they did make popular taxis, so just check the history and make sure it's been maintained properly. Other than that, the Primera is a real gem of a used buy. It's the second-hand car that could rival some of the new cars on the market in terms of equipment, and there are some real bargains to be had on them on the used market. To find one for yourself or for a whole range of alternatives, check out CarsIreland.ie for a huge choice of new and used cars.